Usually when we talk about being a teenager, there's this expectation of a certain baseline level of chaos.
Mm.
I mean, I think back to my own high school days. The morning routine was essentially just survival.
Oh, absolutely. Just like grabbing whatever is around.
Right. You wake up 20 minutes late, you throw on whatever jeans are on the floor that, pass the sniff test, grab a piece of dry toast, and just sprint out the door. It was a very lo-fi existence.
Like zero aesthetic whatsoever.
Zero. You were just trying to get from point A to point B without collapsing. But then you step into the world of modern teen culture, and specifically this hyper-curated Southern California teen influencer landscape, and suddenly that lo-fi existence is just completely obliterated.
It is the absolute definition of doing the most, honestly. Like, you cannot just exist anymore.
No, you really can't, and that is exactly what we are getting into today on this deep dive. We're looking at this massive intersection of modern teenage life, the grueling schedules, the architectural shifts in where teenagers actually hang out, the economics of modern fashion, and the incredibly complex, honestly sometimes completely absurd psychological warfare of TikTok trends.
It gets so toxic, like for real. It's intense.
It really is. And to help me decode the actual mechanics of all this for you, I have a very special guest. She is a 16-year-old Canyon High School cheerleader right here in Anaheim Hills, and she is navigating this exact SoCal lifestyle influencer space on a daily basis. And she also happens to be my daughter. Thanks for being here, sweetheart.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me on. I am literally so excited to just sit down and vibe with you today. Like, it's giving main character energy, getting to actually dissect all of this.
It's definitely giving main character energy. I'm learning the terms.
Here.
But before we get into the psychology of all this, I want to start with the sheer physical logistics of your life.
Oh boy.
Because I watch you do this every single day. And frankly, kiddo, I am exhausted just looking at your calendar. Let's talk about the Canyon High cheer life. Because, people hear cheerleading and they might think of the 1980s stereotype.
Right, like just standing on the sidelines, clapping and looking pretty.
Exactly. But Friday night football in this part of Southern California is a completely different beast, isn't it?
It is insane. Like, people genuinely do not grasp the physical toll of it until they are literally on that track. You have to understand the environment.
Walk me through it.
Okay, so it is September in Anaheim Hills. The sun is beating down on the turf, the heat is radiating up through your shoes, and you are not just standing there, like you are stunting.
Right, throwing people in the air.
Yeah, you are throwing girls into the air, you are tumbling, you are holding these incredibly tense physical formations for hours. And like, the energy of the crowd is unmatched. It is literally the best feeling in the world, but you are sweating through your uniform. It is a massive, relentless grind.
Which makes sense as an athletic endeavor. I mean, you put in the work, you sweat, you get exhausted. But here is the paradox that completely fascinates me about you.
Wait, what paradox?
You come home from these games, or, you wake up the next morning to film one of your Get Ready With Me videos, your GRWM videos for your channels, and the physical exhaustion is just, it's erased.
Well, yeah, you have to look awake.
But you look flawless.
Yeah.
The setup in your bedroom looks like a broadcast studio.
Yeah.
How does a 16-year-old essentially build a professional production company in her bedroom while, simultaneously balancing EP history?
Okay, so it's all about the absolute precision of the setup. Like, you cannot leave anything to chance. When I started filming my GRWMs, I was doing what everybody does at first.
Which is what?
You just hold your phone up or lean it against a mirror and you use the front-facing camera. But that is such a rookie mistake if you actually want to build a brand.
Wait, why is the front camera bad? I mean, if I ever take a photo of myself, which is rare, I use the front screen so I can see what I'm doing. It seems like the only logical way to film yourself.
I mean, it seems logical, but the optics are completely different. The back camera on a modern iPhone is the superior camera, like hands down.
Just structurally better lenses?
Yes. The front camera has a different focal length, so it kind of distorts your face, it flattens the image, and it completely washes out the color. If I am trying to show my audience the specific texture of a new knit sweater I got, or like the exact iridescent shade of a lip gloss, the front camera destroys all that detail.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, the back camera has the massive sensors. It gives you high definition, cinematic depth of field, and that ultra-wide angle view that makes the room look bigger and way more aesthetic.
Okay, that makes sense from an optics standpoint. The actual hardware is better on the back of the phone. But sweetheart, if the screen is facing away from you, you're flying blind. Are you just guessing that you're in the center of the frame?
No, I'm not Delulu, Dad. I'm not just hoping for the best. I use the technology we have. So, I use this app called Power Mirror.
Okay, how does that work?
I download it on my phone, and I also put it on my iPad, and they sync up seamlessly via Bluetooth. So here's the actual architecture of the setup. I have my phone locked into this heavy-duty Joby phone mount.
Right, I've tripped over that tripod enough times.
Sorry. But yeah, it's not just a clip. It has this crazy mechanical spring latch, so the phone absolutely cannot move no matter what. That mount is attached to a super tall weighted tripod.
The camera's locked in like a cinematic A-cam on a movie set.
Exactly. Then I take my iPad and I set it up just out of frame right below the phone's lens.
So the iPad is essentially acting as a professional director's monitor.
Yes. Because of the Bluetooth app, I can see everything the back camera is seeing right on my iPad screen in real time.
That is actually incredibly smart.
Thank you. I can monitor my angles. I know exactly when I am drifting out of frame, and I can shoot fast motion, detailed close-ups, everything, with absolute confidence. It literally looks like I have a professional camera crew in the room. And then you add the lighting.
Right, the lighting is a whole other thing.
I have a primary ring light for a wash of soft light on my face, but I also use color-changing ambient bulbs behind my backdrop. If I want a cozy morning aesthetic, I make the background a warm, soft pink. If I want a cool, edgy streetwear vibe, I change the background lights to a deep blue.
It is genuinely staggering. I mean, I am looking at you, and I am thinking about the level of technical proficiency required here. Setting up Bluetooth latency-free monitors, spring-latched tripods, dialing in the color temperature of ambient lighting, just to film yourself drinking a cup of coffee.
Hey, the coffee is important.
Which, actually, we need to talk about. Because your morning coffee order is essentially a chemical engineering project, and it seems to be the fuel that powers this entire production company.
Oh my gosh, my iced coffee routine is literally the foundation of my sanity. Like, if I don't have it, I will crash out before second period. It genuinely slays.
So what is the actual anatomy of this drink? Because when I see you making it, kiddo, it looks less like breakfast and more like a high-calorie science experiment.
Okay, so you have to build it in layers. The visual is just as important as the caffeine. I start with a really solid base. I use the Wide Awake Coffee Company cold brew, specifically the medium roast because it's not too acidic.
Okay, standard so far.
Right, so you take a really aesthetic, clear glass. It has to be clear so the camera sees the gradient. Fill it with ice. Pour the cold brew about halfway, and then this is the absolute game changer.
This is the part where I question everything I've done as a parent.
No, it is genius. I add Southern Comfort non-dairy eggnog.
Eggnog. In September, when it is 95 degrees outside in Southern California.
Yes. Dad, hear me out on this. If you are dairy-free, standard almond milk or oat milk is way too thin. It waters down the coffee.
I suppose that's true.
The non-dairy eggnog has this incredible, thick viscosity. It is so creamy, and the spice profile actually works perfectly with the roast of the coffee, so you should do a heavy splash of that. Then I add Starbucks non-dairy hazelnut creamer to give it that nutty flavor profile.
2 creamer.
And then a quick pump of Torani white chocolate syrup. You take a glass straw and stir that up so the color turns into this perfect caramel tan. And then the grand finale, you top it with Target's favorite day extra creamy whipped cream.
Sweetheart, it sounds like you are just drinking a liquid dessert to spike your blood sugar.
It is bussin'. It is so insanely good. But more importantly, the camera loves it. When you pour the creamer into the dark cold brew and it does that cloudy swirling mixing thing.
Like the diffusion of the liquid.
Yes. That is pure aesthetic perfection for a morning vlog. And because I'm spending 20 minutes dialing in my lighting and my iPad monitor, I don't have time to cook a real breakfast. So I literally just rip open a packet of Target's Good and Gather apple cinnamon oatmeal.
But you don't even use a bowl for it.
No, bowls require washing. I pour the dry oatmeal into a disposable paper coffee cup, pour hot water over it, put a heavy book on top of the cup to trap the steam and let it marinate, and I can just eat it with a spoon while I'm doing my contouring. Efficiency.
So if I zoom out and look at this from a sociological perspective for you and our listeners,
Yeah.
it is fascinating, but I have to push back a little.
Okay, push back.
You are engineering layered, visually perfect eggnog cold brews, rigging up iPad monitors, calculating the focal length of your lenses, all just to get ready for the day. Doesn't the sheer performative weight of this get exhausting?
I mean,
Like the amount of production value required just to exist as a teenager in this specific subculture, are you ever just tired of the performance?
for real, yeah. Sometimes you wake up and you are just completely cooked. You don't want to perceive yourself, let alone have thousands of other people perceive you. But you have to understand the psychology of Gen Z right now.
Elaborate on that.
The online aesthetic and the real world aesthetic are not two separate things anymore. They are deeply, deeply intertwined. Your online brand translates directly to how you are treated and how you show up in real life.
So the screen bleeds into the physical world.
Exactly.
If
It's not just about posting a video, it's about capturing a specific vibe. And if you have cultivated this perfect, pristine vibe on your grid, you cannot walk out of the house looking completely chaotic. You have to take that energy out into the world.
Okay, that is a brilliant point. The seamless transition from the digital set to the physical set. Because once you leave the bedroom, you have to go somewhere to actually be seen. Which perfectly connects to something I've been researching heavily this week for our deep dive. The massive architectural and economic shift in the Orange County Mall.
Oh, the mall hierarchy. It is so intense and so real.
It really is. And it's fascinating because if you read the financial press over the last 10 years, the prevailing narrative is that the American shopping mall is dead. Amazon killed it. Direct-to-consumer Instagram ads killed it.
Yeah, but that's not true at all.
Well, that's what I'm seeing. Because when I was your age in the 80s and 90s, the mall was just the mall. You went to hang out at the food court, maybe bought a CD at Sam Goody, you loitered near the fountain, and you went home. It was singular.
Oh, wow. So basic.
Very basic. But looking at our research and looking at how your cheer squad actually navigates Orange County, these massive retail spaces have aggressively adapted. You guys have a highly specific, strategic purpose for every major shopping hub. So let's start with the baseline, the workhorse, the Brea Mall.
Right. So the Bray Mall is the everyday essential. It is the absolute core of our functional social lives. Like when cheer practice ends and we are sweaty, exhausted, but we desperately need to grab something, we go to Brea.
But what is the actual function of going there, though?
Yeah.
If you just need a product, why not just prime it to the house?
Because sometimes you need it right now, and sometimes you just need the social decompression. Mostly, we hit Dick's Sporting Goods.
Okay, for gear.
Yeah, if someone blew out their cheer shoes, or we need to athletic tape or spandex quickly before a game, Dick's is right there. It's for quick, utilitarian fashion hauls. But what's really fascinating is how the mall has physically changed to keep us coming back. They just finished this massive 3-year renovation.
Exactly. I was reading the breakdown on this in our sources.
Yeah.
The Brea Mall was originally built in 1977. And for decades, it operated on that classic 1970s indoor mall blueprint. Massive anchor department stores at the ends, long windowless corridors in the middle.
Very claustrophobic vibes.
Right. But over the last 3 years, Simon Property Group essentially gutted massive sections of it to completely modernize the flow.
And they did such an incredible job. It went from feeling like this slightly claustrophobic, outdated indoor space to having this beautiful, sleek, modern, outdoor lifestyle area. They ripped open the walls, brought in all this natural sunlight, and added incredible greenery and aesthetic seating areas.
It is a totally different footprint now.
It is, and the curation of the new stores is elite.
Now, what makes a store elite for your demographic right now? Because the old anchor stores like Sears are long gone.
It's all about lifestyle brands. They brought in Uniqlo, Lululemon, Zara, Alo Yoga, Travis Mathew. They brought in FP Movement, which is Free People's activewear line. And they even have this place called Slimatory, which is honestly just a fun, sensory, nostalgic thing for people to play with.
Right, highly experiential retail.
But the real genius is what they did with the food.
Yes,
Oh.
because the food court of my youth, the sad slices of pizza and the corn dog on a stick, that business model is dead. What replaced it for you guys?
Destination dining. Having Din Tai Fung right there at the Bray Mall is a massive flex.
A Michelin star soup dumplings at the mall.
Exactly. Din Tai Fung is an event. You can go get Michelin star level soup dumplings after school. Plus, they brought in North Italia for nice sit-down dinners, and Phil's Coffee, which has a massive cult following. So Brea is your daily driver. It's functional, but they elevated the architecture and the food so much that it's actually cute enough that you don't mind being seen there in your practice clothes.
So Brea handles the utilitarian post-practice reality.
Yeah.
But the weekend is a different story. If you spend all morning dialing in the lighting for your GRWM video like we discussed, where are you actually taking that finished aesthetic on a Friday or Saturday night?
That is 100% the Irvine spectrum.
The spectrum. Now, conceptually, the spectrum has always been different from Brea. It's massive, it's entirely outdoors, and it has that distinct Spanish-Moorish architecture.
It is massive, but the reason we go there on the weekends isn't really for the retail. It is almost entirely experiential. Like, we aren't necessarily dropping hundreds of dollars on clothes at the Spectrum. We go for the vibe.
So what do you actually do there?
It's the ultimate weekend hangout. You get your friend group together, you grab boba, you walk around the outdoor promenades, maybe you ride the massive Ferris wheel if you want a nostalgic photo op.
But there is a very specific strategic reason your crew prefers this spectrum over, say, a different outdoor center, isn't there?
Hmm.
It comes down to optics.
Obviously. The outdoor lighting at the Spectrum is literally unmatched. It is perfect.
It's the lighting. This blows my mind. You pick a location based on ambient lumens.
I'm completely serious. The way the architects design the courtyards, the way they have these beautiful warm string lights draped across the promenades, and the way the golden hour sun hits the Spanish tile. Like, if you need to shoot content for TikTok or post a fit check on Instagram, the Spectrum gives you the highest quality backdrop.
It's basically an outdoor studio.
The ambient light is so flattering, it literally feels like you are walking around a movie set.
It's a Hollywood backlot built for teenagers with iPhones.
Pretty much. It's a stage.
That brings me to the third tier of this hierarchy. We have Brea for the everyday function, the Spectrum for the weekend lighting and content creation. But what happens when you go south to Newport Beach? What is the function of Fashion Island?
Oh, Fashion Island is the elite mood board.
The elite mood board. Explain the psychology of that to me.
Because Fashion Island is pure luxury. It sits right by the coast in Newport, the landscaping is immaculate, and the air just feels expensive.
The air feels expensive. I love that.
It does. You absolutely do not show up to Fashion Island in your messy cheer practice clothes. That is a massive faux pas. That is the place you go when you want to heavily curate an outfit, look incredibly stylish, and do some high-end window shopping.
But are high schoolers actually walking into Neiman Marcus and dropping $2,000 on a jacket?
Usually no. Obviously we are high schoolers, but we go for the coastal luxury aesthetic. You walk around the open-air koi ponds, you browse the luxury boutiques, you look at the beautiful visual merchandising, and you basically manifest your future rich life.
So it's aspirational.
Completely. You capture that high-end, old money vibe for the grid. Just physically being in that space elevates your whole aura. It proves you have taste, even if you are just buying an iced matcha and walking around.
So if I connect the dots here, this completely reframes the narrative that malls are dead. When I read articles about the retail apocalypse, they're focusing on the transaction of goods. The idea is, why go to a physical store when Amazon can deliver it tomorrow? But it seems to me that Gen Z isn't going to the mall for commerce at all.
Exactly. You are thinking about malls the way the 1990s used them, purely as distribution centers for physical items.
Right.
If I just want a plain white t-shirt, yes, I am going to order it online. I'm not driving 20 minutes for a basic tee. Gen Z goes to the mall for the experience.
You are using physical architecture as a backdrop for your digital lives.
100%. Look at what Bray Mall did. They didn't save their mall by cramming in more cash registers or racks of clothes. They built outdoor seating. They added lush greenery. They brought in experiential food like Din Tai Fung, where you can literally stand behind a glass wall and watch the chefs fold the dumplings. It's theater.
It's entertainment.
The smart developers realize that they aren't competing with Amazon for our wallets. They are competing with Netflix, TikTok, and video games for our attention. They have to give us a highly compelling, visually stunning reason to leave the house.
And that reason is?
And that reason is content. We need places that look incredibly cool so we can document ourselves existing in them. If a physical space isn't aesthetic, my generation simply will not go there.
That is a brilliant architectural and economic shift. The survival of physical retail is entirely dependent on its photogenic qualities. But if you are at the Irvine spectrum and the golden hour lighting is hitting the Spanish tile perfectly, you can't just stand there in sweatpants. The backdrop is only half the equation. Which brings us to the costume.
Oh, the fit is everything.
How are you actually styling yourself for these environments? And looking at the research for this deep dive, the way you and your peers construct an outfit right now is a masterclass in economic contradiction. It is the era of high-low styling.
Yes, if the fit is wrong, the lighting doesn't even matter.
I have to tease you for a second, kiddo, because I live in the house with you, and there are currently massive halls of clothing occupying significant square footage in our hallways. It looks like a small boutique exploded near the laundry room.
Okay, Dad, I have a system. It looks chaotic to you, but there's a vision, I promise.
Walk me through the vision. Because when you actually explain the philosophy behind it, it's not just mindless consumption. It is a highly specific strategy of mixing aggressively inexpensive, trendy pieces with very specific high-end investment staples.
Right. Because the absolute worst thing you can do right now is wear head-to-toe luxury. If you walk out completely dripping in designer logos, it looks incredibly tacky. It looks like you're trying way too hard to prove you have money.
It's gauche.
Exactly. But on the flip side, you can't wear head-to-toe fast fashion because then you just look basic and cheap. The art is in the mix.
So what is the actual anatomy of this outfit? Where do you even start? What is the base layer?
Right now, the absolute obsession for a base layer is sleek, form-fitting activewear or honestly one-piece swimsuits.
Swimsuits. As daily wear. I don't understand the structural logic there.
It makes total sense. A really high-quality, minimal one-piece swimsuit functions exactly like a perfect bodysuit.
Okay, I guess so.
But because it's meant for the water, the material is usually thicker, it compresses better, and it holds you in perfectly without wrinkling. So I will take a sleek, tight one-piece or a seamless activewear top, and then I dramatically contrast it by layering it with oversized streetwear. Massive, baggy, low-rise sweatpants, or a giant vintage men's blazer, or a ridiculously oversized zip-up hoodie.
It's a deliberate manipulation of silhouette.
Exactly. You want that intense contrast, super tight and minimal underneath and huge, relaxed, and baggy on top. It gives this effortless, I just threw this on vibe. But the silhouette is just the canvas. The secret sauce, the thing that actually makes the outfit viral, is the accessories. That is where the high-low economic mix really happens.
Let's examine the low side of that equation first. You are a massive advocate for Target in this department.
Oh, Target's Wild Fable line is literally saving my life. It is carrying the entire accessory game right now. You can take a base outfit that costs maybe $15 total, and if you accessorize it correctly with Wild Fable, it looks incredibly elevated. I'm obsessed with their Y2K accessories.
Y2K meaning the year 2000 aesthetic.
Yes. The big, colorful, aggressively plastic claw clips, the little butterfly hair clips, the chunky resin rings and thick chain necklaces. It adds this super playful, highly nostalgic edge to the outfit that is trending all over TikTok. It stops the outfit from looking too serious.
So you have the $15 Target butterfly clips, providing the playful irony, but then we swing wildly to the other end of the economic spectrum to anchor the outfit, the high-end staple. And looking at the market data right now, in 2026, the ultimate luxury status symbol for Gen Z isn't Gucci or Prada, it's Coach.
Coach is having the most insane, historic comeback of the decade. They are the absolute blueprint for how to rebrand.
Which is wild to me, because I remember Coach from the early 2000s. It was everywhere, heavily saturated with the repeating C logo canvas prints, and then it felt like they massively overextended. For a long time, they kind of faded into just being a discounted outlet brand. But looking at the data we pulled, this breakdown of the top 25 Coach bags for 2026, they are completely dominating youth culture. How did they pull that off?
They pivoted brilliantly. They realized that Gen Z doesn't want stiff, serious luxury. Coach perfectly captured this new aesthetic of quiet luxury meets extreme playfulness.
How so?
They stopped taking themselves so seriously, they leaned into irony, but they kept the actual leather craftsmanship incredibly high.
What are the specific structural bags your crew is obsessed with?
Okay, the absolute holy grail right now is the Tabby Shoulder Bag 26, specifically the quilted version.
I think I've seen that one.
You definitely have. It is structurally a classic shoulder bag, but the quilting makes it so puffy and soft it literally feels like a luxury pillow. It has the heavy metal C hardware, so it feels expensive, but the puffiness makes it casual.
It's very tactile.
The texture is key. We also absolutely love the swing zip bag. That one is literally a revived archival shape straight out of the late 90s, so it feeds our Y2K obsession perfectly. It's very sleek, very minimal. But where Coach really wins is their micro trends. They will take a beautifully crafted classic leather bag and just cover it in a playful cherry print. Or they will take the Brooklyn Shoulder Bag 28 and cover the entire outside in fluffy shearling so it looks like a teddy bear for fall. It's expensive luxury, but it doesn't feel snobby.
That playfulness is a huge factor. But there is another massive structural reason Coach is winning the Gen Z market. And that brings us to the supply chain. We need to talk about Coachtopia.
Yes, Coachtopia is their sustainable, circular fashion line, and it is the smartest thing a brand has done in years.
I want to dig into the mechanics of this because the research points out that your generation cares deeply about sustainability, but you are also incredibly cynical. You are terrified of greenwashing. You know, when a massive corporation just slaps a green leaf on a tag and pretends to be eco-friendly while still exploiting the planet.
Oh, we will clock you immediately if you are faking it. If a brand says eco-conscious, but they are still mass-producing plastic garbage, TikTok will tear them apart in hours. But Coachtopia is legit circular fashion. They actually changed their supply chain. They use this process called upcrafted leather.
What does that actually mean on a manufacturing level?
Basically, when Coach cuts out the pattern for a mainline luxury bag, there are always scraps of high-quality leather left over on the cutting room floor. Normally, that goes straight into a landfill. For Coachtopia, they take all those scrap pieces, save them, and innovatively press and bind them together to create entirely new, mosaic-like leather materials.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, they also use recycled polyester and repurposed denim from old jeans.
Right, the data specifically highlights the loop tote and the alter ego crescent bag.
Exactly. The alter ego crescent bag is incredible. It has this very slouchy, effortless shape, and knowing that it is physically constructed from upcrafted leather scraps makes it a massive flex. It proves to your peers that you care about the planet, that you are investing in circular economics. But, and this is the absolute most critical part, it still looks highly aesthetic.
Meaning the ethics don't matter if the design is bad.
Honestly, yes. If a brand is 100% sustainable and saves the oceans, but the bag looks like a lumpy potato sack, teenagers are not going to buy it.
Yeah.
We just aren't. Coach figured out how to make environmentalism look like high fashion.
It is a brilliant threading of the needle. But it seems to me there's a fascinating paradox here, and I have to push back as a parent who actually lived through this timeline.
Uh-oh. Here it comes.
You just noted that the swing zip bag feeds your Y2K obsession. You wear plastic butterfly clips from Target. You actively seek out silhouettes that look like they belong in a music video from the year 2002.
Yes, it's a total vibe. Sweetheart, you were not alive in 2002. I was in my 20s in 2002. You are deeply nostalgic for an era you literally never experienced. From a sociological standpoint, is this genuine appreciation for the design of the early 2000s, or is this just pure algorithm-driven consumerism? Like, are you just buying it because the TikTok algorithm force feeds it to you, what you guys would call brain rot?
Okay, wow, coming from my neck. I mean, it's complex. It's a little bit of both. Yes,
Yeah.
the algorithm surfaces these trends and amplifies them. But for Gen Z, Y2K fashion serves a very specific psychological purpose. It feels rebellious.
Rebellious how? Look at who we grew up with. We grew up watching millennials. And millennial fashion was obsessed with minimalism. Everything was beige, everything was sleek, tight, skinny jeans, perfectly curated, clean girl aesthetics. It was very rigid.
That is very true.
Y2K fashion is the exact opposite. It is loud, it is chunky, it is aggressively colorful, it is slightly messy and chaotic. We love the irony of taking something that older generations might think is completely tacky, like a giant plastic hair clip or a fuzzy pink shearling purse, and subverting it. We elevate the tacky into high fashion just to prove we can. It's about taking the restrictive rules of minimalism and just destroying them.
Irony. Subversion.
Yeah.
The elevation of the absurd. This is the perfect thread to pull because this psychological need to subvert expectations bleeds into everything your generation does.
Yeah.
But sometimes that irony loops back around on itself. It goes too far, it metastasizes, and it becomes what you would categorize as incredible cringe.
Oh no, I know exactly what case study you're about to bring up.
We have to. We cannot analyze modern teen culture on this deep dive without looking at the bizarre, hyper-ironic phenomenon of Halloween on TikTok and the memification of fashion. Specifically, the rise and spectacular fall of the Lorax costume girl.
It is so out of pocket. It really is a tragedy of the internet.
For anyone who has managed to keep their algorithm free of this specific chaos, we need to examine the psychology of how teenage girls approach costumes today. Because it has fundamentally shifted from how it worked a decade ago.
Okay, so to understand the Lorax, you first have to understand the sociological baseline of high school Halloween. You have to look at the movie Mean Girls.
The Rosetta Stone of millennial teen culture.
Exactly. There is that famous monologue where Lindsay Lohan's character explains that Halloween is the one night a year where a girl can dress as scandalously as she wants and no other girl can say anything about it.
Right. The traditional high school trope. You take a mundane profession or animal, add animal ears, and make it scandalous.
Right. But Gen Z, as we just established, is obsessed with subverting expectations. So instead of being the popular girls who dress up as sexy bunnies or whatever, a specific subset of popular girls decided it would actually be a massive power play to go in the complete opposite direction.
The logic being,
The logic is, I am so naturally pretty and I am so confident in my social standing that I don't need to look hot on Halloween. In fact, I am going to be aggressively, monstrously weird just to prove how untouchable I am.
it's a flex of social capital. Which brings us to the Dr. Seuss character.
Yes. Back in 2023, this creator named McKenna Douglas started this trend. She completely abandoned any attempt at looking cute, and she went incredibly hard on dressing up as the Lorax.
What is the actual anatomy of this costume? because the visual is jarring.
It is aggressively specific and honestly terrifying. You wear a skin-tight, full-body orange morph suit, or sometimes a chaotic orange tutu. You buy a fake, massively bushy yellow mustache and physically glue it to your upper lip, along with giant yellow caterpillars for eyebrows.
And there's the padding.
And the piece de resistance, you take a literal bed pillow, shove it up the front of the morph suit, and give yourself a massive, protruding, round pot belly.
It is an incredible act of physical comedy. And from the data, it looks like for a brief moment, it worked. It was perceived as brilliant.
For a minute. When McKenna originally did it, it was hilarious. She was doing these viral TikTok dances, shaking the pillow belly, acting completely unhinged. It broke the internet. She got millions of views. But that's the problem with the algorithm. When something works, it gets cloned.
The mass production of memes.
So the next year and the year after that, every single pack of popular girls decided they were going to be the quirky, ironic ones. You suddenly had entire squads of girls dressing up as the Lorax or doing bald caps to be the rapper Pitbull, all thinking they were being so incredibly edgy and original.
And this is where the cultural rubber meets the road. Because looking at the Know Your Meme database and the slang analysis we pulled for you from Axis and Luna, there has been a massive, brutal backlash against this specific costume trend. The teenage boys on TikTok have completely turned on the Lorax.
The boys are so deeply fed up with the Lorax. It is actually hilarious how genuinely angry they're getting about this orange potbelly.
And this is where I need you to act as a cultural translator, because the language the boys are using to describe this backlash is entirely its own dialect. Walk me through the current sentiment. Let's break down the mechanics of the slang.
Okay, let's lock in. So, you have the girls putting on the yellow mustache and the pillow belly. In their minds, they think they are eating and leaving no crumbs.
Meaning they believe they are executing the joke flawlessly, leaving nothing to be desired.
Right. They think they are radiating peak main character energy. But the teenage boys on TikTok are taking these videos, stitching them, and declaring the entire concept a massive red flag. They are going into the comments and saying that seeing their high school crush aggressively dancing in an orange morph suit gives them the ick.
The ick. Which is not just dislike, right? It's a physiological response, an uncontrollable, sudden feeling of absolute romantic repulsion.
Exactly. It's like a switch flips and you can never look at that person the same way again. The guys are saying the girls are completely delusional for thinking that copying a 3-year-old meme is still funny. If a girl wears the Lorax costume in 2026, the boys are explicitly stating she is losing major aura points.
Aura points. This concept absolutely fascinates me. The idea that your real-world social standing is quantified like a video game score. That your essence can mathematically go up or down based on a Halloween costume.
It totally is treated like a currency. The guys will literally type minus 10,000 aura points for the Lorax. They are basically signaling that the costume completely fails the vibe check. It is no longer subversive. It is incredibly churchy. And honestly, it's just totally Ohio.
Ohio. Using a Midwestern state as a geographical synonym for something that is weird, desolate, and deeply cringy. I still can't quite grasp the linguistic leap there, but it is effective.
It's just so funny because it makes zero sense. Or they might call the whole trenches, which is this newer, really derogatory term some guys are using online to describe girls who are just trying way too hard to be funny.
Right.
But the ultimate insult right now, if a girl posts a highly produced multi-camera Lorax transition video, a guy will just go into the comments and type 6-7.
Okay, wait. 6-7. The mango mustard meme. I hear your friends shouting random numbers in the kitchen when they hang out, and I am entirely lost. What is the actual etymology of 6-7?
Okay, 6-7 is the absolute peak of modern brain rot. It requires so much context.
Try me.
It started with this underground rapper named Skrilla, and it somehow got attached to the NBA player LaMelo Ball, who happens to be exactly 6'7", and the joke is just replacing the numbers with words that have that amount of letters. So mango has 6 letters, mustard has 7. Mango mustard. It literally means absolutely nothing. It is a completely nonsensical, daddiest interruption.
So it's weaponized absurdity.
Yes. So if a guy comments 6-7 on your heavily produced Lorax video, he's basically saying, this video is so unserious, so incredibly dumb that I am going to respond with something equally meaningless just to show how little I respect what you were doing. It completely strips the power away from the girl trying to be quirky.
That is incredible. The layers of linguistic warfare happening in the comment section.
Yeah.
But if I can zoom out and analyze the philosophy of this, it seems like a massive paradox.
How do you mean?
Well, these girls are strapping on giant orange potbellies to prove how unique, quirky, and independent they are,
Eh.
to stand out from the crowd of traditional costumes. But if everyone across the country is doing the exact same ironic Lorax costume to stand out, doesn't the subversion collapse on itself? Haven't they just created a brand new, even more restrictive uniform?
Dad, you literally just nailed the exact psychology of why it fails. That is exactly why it gives everyone the ick now. It's fundamentally fake. It is mass-produced quirkiness. True Riz, which is our word for genuine magnetic charisma, or being demure, which is the current term for being mindful, effortless, and casually classy, those things rely on authenticity.
So being demure is the exact opposite of being the Lorax.
Exactly. Being demure is about quiet confidence. It's knowing who you are without screaming for attention, dressing up as a meme from 3 years ago, spending hours getting the pillow belly right just because you saw it on your For You page and you desperately want algorithm views. That is the furthest thing from demure.
It's just following a different rule book.
Yeah, it exposes the fact that you are trying way too hard to be perceived a certain way. You aren't actually being rebellious or quirky. You are just blindly following a different set of instructions handed down by the TikTok algorithm.
Which brings us, inevitably, to the reality check. The outro to this absolute madness. Because as much as I am sitting here in this studio, analyzing the sociology and economics of this with you from an academic distance, I am also an active, daily participant in this circus. I'm the influencer dad.
You are literally the best influencer, Dad.
I am profoundly exhausted, is what I am. If people want to know what it looks like behind the scenes of those flawless weekend Instagram posts, they need to look at my weekends. When homecoming, or HOKO as you all aggressively insist on abbreviating it, rolls around, I am the logistical coordinator for a small army.
It takes a village, Dad.
I have 20 heavily perfumed teenagers in my backyard. I am frantically trying to track the sun to find the exact golden hour lighting you need, while you are yelling at me to make sure the spring latch Joby mount doesn't tip over in the grass.
We rely on you. You are our chief lighting director and grip.
I am a grip. I am standing there holding a reflector board, listening to a group of 16-year-olds call each other skibidi and aggressively debate over who has more aura points because of their corsage. And I am just standing there wondering if I am entirely, fundamentally cooked.
You are definitely cooked. There's no going back for you.
But all of this chaos, from the cheer routines to the slang, leaves me with one prevailing thought. And this is the provocative question I want everyone listening to genuinely ponder as we wrap up this deep dive.
Oh, dropping the heavy thoughts.
We've talked about massive retail malls being architecturally redesigned purely as content backdrops. We've talked about morning iced coffees being chemically formulated not for taste, but for their visual layering on an iPad monitor. We've talked about teenagers choosing their Halloween costumes not based on what they like, but based on subverting algorithmic expectations to protect their digital social score.
The whole world is literally just a set.
Exactly. The world is a set. If every single aspect of a teenager's life today, from the specific outdoor promenade you hang out in, to the Target Coach high-low outfit you carefully construct, to the ironic yellow mustache you glue to your face, is meticulously designed to be broadcasted, consumed, and judged on a digital grid, is true individuality even possible anymore?
Wow. That's actually really deep.
Or are we all just playing highly curated characters, terrified that if we step out of our assigned demographic aesthetic, we're going to lose our aura points in the real world? It's something to seriously consider the next time you see a teenager rigging up a Bluetooth camera system just to eat a paper cup of oatmeal.
Literally. Well, before we spiral into a full existential crisis about the simulation we live in, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to our deep dive. If you liked breaking all this down with us, literally smash that subscribe button, besties. We love you.
And as for me, I'm going to go lie down in a dark room. I think I need to go bed rot for a solid 8 hours to recover my sanity, because my brain is officially out of aura points. I am completely cooked.
Dad, please stop trying to use the slang. You are being so cringe right now.
I know, sweetheart. I know. Thanks for listening, everyone.